Has anybody seen where they are yet?
In the midnight swamps of northern Tanzania, a hunt is underway for an elusive and mysterious animal. The creature moves among them, unseen.
Who's over there? Somebody over there?
It is a shapeshifter with potential life and death powers.
Where I'm shining my light, is anybody over there? Okay, there's something big moving around over there then.
What rough beast drives ordinary men to madness?
Holy As long as I can remember, I remember being fascinated with amphibians. That mystery that you can see right in front of your eyes. Nothing's hidden.
Dr. Tyrone Hayes grew up chasing frogs in the swamps of South Carolina. But he never dreamed that his frogs might become allies in the battle against cancer. But then into his life came Hyperoleus argus, an extraordinary little reed frog from Africa. Males are green, females are red with spots. But if you dip a male tadpole into waters laced with female hormones or any substance that acts like estrogens, he starts to get spots. These same chemicals are in all kinds of things, like some pesticides and detergents, and they have the potential to be deadly.
We've screened a number of compounds now and shown that compounds that are known to cause breast cancer cells to grow will also make our frogs change color. Because they're incredibly sensitive, people think of them as our early warning, as our canaries in the mine.
Tyrone knows about the early warning capabilities of this little frog, and it's hardly the only one that's done intriguing things in his lab. But there's only one place he can find his amphibian canaries: the heart of Africa. Frogs are disappearing all over the world, and Africa is no exception. But the reed frog is a resilient little amphibian and still plentiful here in Tanzania. In 3 weeks, Tyrone will cover 3,000 miles, carefully collecting frogs to raise back in the lab. Fortunately, he's got some help.
You smell like a wet chicken.
Yep, so does your mama.
The banter may be casual, but the work itself demands total dedication.
I grew up with, above all else, hard work was important. My dad used to say, if you're going to do something half-assed, don't bother. If you're going to do something, do it. And I take everything that I do very seriously. Everybody I work with knows that, and everybody that I work with is like that. I mean, they all seem strange and weird, but that's the one thing they have in common. They get the job done. These guys are my friends. They're not just people who work for me or my technician or my blah, blah, blah. In a lot of ways, it's like a big family.
But unlike him, I change my underwear every day.
I don't have any underwear. Solves our problem. There wasn't enough room in my pack.
They may be slightly unorthodox, but their science is true and their resolve is unshakable. Get the frog. No matter what, always get the frog. The frog dogs are headed into prime amphibian real estate, the swampy margins of giant Lake Victoria, if they can find it. Bemused Maasai locals are happy to point them in the right direction. Ecologist Anton Espera is from Kenya. He's the official navigator of the trip. He's also the only one who speaks Swahili. Dan Buckholtz with the National Institutes of Health is among the foremost experts on the identification of African reed frogs.
Herpetology is the study of amphibians. I specialize in frogs, all kinds of frogs.
Emily Marquez is an endocrinologist and a former student of Tyrone's.
I think the first thing I ever really liked was insects. Because I spent a lot of time out in my backyard when I was little, and I just liked watching them.
After being packed in the truck for 10 long, uncomfortable hours, the crew is ready to erupt upon the first sight. For years, herpetologists argued that it was a waste of time trying to find frogs during the day. They turned out to be wrong. Females bask in the sun, perhaps to develop their eggs.
Because everybody would say you could only collect them at night. So we'd go out during the mornings from 9 to 12 or so, and that's how we found out the females bask. Other people have problems collecting females.
One of the easiest ways to find out where the water is in the frogs is either to ask farmers or, even better, children. Just like at home, the kids know where the frogs are.
Aaron Vonk is the animal management expert of the group. He'll be responsible for getting the frogs safely back to California.
We told them we wanted little frogs. They found us a juvenile toad. Not what we're looking for, but it's a very good start.
The key to catching frogs is the element of surprise. During the day, the frogs fall asleep in the sun. A good hunter can sneak up on them without waking them. Sometimes it takes a coordinated effort.
The Hyperoleus. I see several. Come here. I'm right here. I got two right in my view.
Hey, wait, don't move. You're gonna make a mistake. Okay, there's one right there on the top of that reed, and there's one right in front of me with little black dots. See the top of that reed right there? And when you get the same distance away, I'm gonna start moving towards mine, because they're both gonna jump. You see where yours is now? Go slow. I mean, see, mine's moving. He already sees me. It's a male too. Okay, I got mine. Go for yours. Okay, cool. It's a male. It's a male, Larry. Yeah.
Sure, it looks like a male, but not exactly the way a male of this species is supposed to look. There's a slight variation in color, and that's a problem.
I mean, they're not going to all look like the textbook, you know. Yeah.
Until they can compare it with the literature and process DNA samples, they won't know precisely which species or subspecies they've collected.
Okay, that means lunch is canceled. Wasn't that the contingency if we actually found them where we're going to work?
At nearly every site, the frog dogs split up and spread out to cover more ground.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Armed only with plastic bags, they slog through muck, filth, and who knows what else, searching for their prey. This searching technique may be fine during the day, but at night, no one wanders too far away from the team. They've only come in search of frogs, and no one's anxious to see anything much bigger.
We do know that in this area, there's crocodiles and hippos. Crocodiles are the least of our worries because they generally try to run away. It's the hippos we have to worry about. They may actually charge and grab you in their mouths and flip you.
It's not just the large animals they have to contend with.
No. Oh, Jesus, I can't pull them off.
It's the classic Afghan. They don't sting, they just bite. They kill by sheer numbers.
Despite the very real dangers of African wildlife, the team collects under nearly any conditions. They can't afford to waste time. They bag frogs at night, they bag frogs during the day. There's little time for sleep and not much time to eat.
Sorry about lunch.
Bathing becomes a luxury. But still they are driven. They must press forward. They dare not stop. Unless they absolutely have to. For the frog dogs, a flat tire isn't a rest stop. It's time for some amphibian upkeep and a chance to puzzle over some recent confusing discoveries.
Problem with keeping them in the bags sealed is one, oxygen, and the other, it acts like a greenhouse. And if they get any sun at all, they can cook really quickly. So now we're basically getting them in the bottles, and they can be fine for weeks. We just clean them several times a day with fresh bottled water. Each bottle generally will have a species and a location.
I'm recording the exact locality, like the name of the town, the route of travel, which means how we got to this site, which frog species we found there, where we found them, on which type of plants.
They're in unknown territory in more ways than one. And you can't just consult the book if you're the ones writing it.
Okay, my question is, why do you think you couldn't find bayonet and onesie in the same place?
Because they're supposed to be subspecies.
What if they're just polymorphism? Like could you separate the variables from the little dot things and the things with the big black and blue?
The frog dogs are seeing spots. Spots like they've never seen before.
Some of the things that are being described in the book don't match what we're finding, and that's what's got us so excited. You have an animal that fits one description, drive just 10, 15 kilometers, collect something that looks completely different and fits the description of another subspecies. And it might sound like it might be insignificant, but characters as subtle as that have been used to separate some of these other animals into different subspecies.
The frogs are becoming a chaos of colors and spots. If they're going to make sense of this amphibious Rorschach test, they're going to have to get a bigger picture. They decide to make a mad dash around Lake Victoria, on the lookout for more swamps, more frogs, and all they need is more hours in the day. Dawn on Lake Victoria. Time to pull in the night sketch. This is where the African reed frog could really become a canary in a coal mine.
A lot of people ask, who cares about these little frogs? Frogs are important because they have the sensitivity to be early detectors. I mean, their skin's permeable, they're in the water, they're in the air. If, for example, estrogens are causing these animals to all develop into females, if chemicals that we're putting into the environment are causing the metamorphose too slow or too fast, that's an indication that everything in the environment might be affected. You've seen every day here, you see people coming up with their water to cook or bathing in the water here. What if we go there now and we find all these males that look like females? There's a chemical in that water that affects them. It's going to affect all the people that are getting their water. And so if there's a problem in frogs, then potentially there's a problem in public health as well.
Dr. Hayes is intensely devoted to his study of the frog. In fact, his habit of putting aside anything that gets in the way of the mission has had a major impact on his colleagues.
Tyrone's motto on this trip, he has many sayings, but one motto that's applicable for this trip is maximum discomfort and filth.
Tyrone refuses to bathe because he likes being as disgusting as possible.
After 2.5 weeks of serious scientific research, no one has any doubt about who's most pungent.
There's no question.
No question.
I accept that honor.
Where chocolate sauna?
The filth thing, what can I say? I like to be a part of the environment.
As they near the end of their 3 weeks, the frog dogs go into collecting overdrive. The pressure to complete their survey of the entire southern portion of the lake is intense, and time is running out.
I think we should keep going, swamp to swamp to swamp, spend 20 minutes each place, maybe in a couple hours decide which one we're going to go back to at night. We have to do it. Oh! Can you still see it? Oh, it jumped. Oh, I see him, I see him. I got a second lease on light. Oh, I can't feel the bottom. Oh, no. Ah, I just missed him a third time. Hey, you guys, here's another one. I got it in sight. I quit. Who wants my office? We gotta clean it.
Suddenly, with one frog, it looks as if all their overtime has paid off.
The male. Oh, it's beautiful. Hey, it looks like variabilis. This is like the kind we get from Uganda. It looks like variabilis. This is the first time we caught one that looks like this on this trip. This is the first time we caught one in Tanzania. Now Tyrone's a little bit happier.
Now the frog's color patterns are starting to make a little sense. Variabilis seems to fill in one of the gaps in the spectrum of skin colors and patterns between the west side of the lake and the east. As with its cousin, Argus, this color difference could lead to new answers in the lab. But this is just one frog, and it's a big lake. The team pulls out all the stops and searching continues round the clock. In one way, searching for frogs is easier at night. They only need to drive along the lake listening for their calls.
And if you want to see them, go like this.
Of course, when you've got hundreds of live frogs calling from inside the truck, it can be a little maddening.
No. I'm trying to see.
Wait, did you hear it?
I heard some, yeah.
I didn't hear it. That's fine. Here, that's fine.
Finally, they hear the one song they were listening for.
It's a long way away, though.
It's one frog.
One Kibuensis.
No, it's more than one frog. It's a long way away.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Now you guys check it out.
Oh, listen to that.
Walking into an African swamp in the middle of the night is always a risky venture. The crew looks around for dangerous animals before collecting. Even so, animals roam.
Emily! Where are you? Are you coming this way? Are you coming this way? Yeah. Are you by yourself? Can't get it. It's all so deep, and it smells awful down here. It's like somebody's sewer or something.
On this night, it turns out there is something to fear. Something awful.
Oh, that is so nasty. One of the things that's bummed me out about the trip is we're doing a lot more collecting near human settlement. And the concern is, of course, is, you know, Anton will tell you with human waste or diseases and things you have to worry about, which I'd rather avoid.
People bathe here and people throw their waste in here. There could be all kinds of diseases here.
Well, just given that we actually saw something floating there.
I tripped over one. It was so big.
The levees are really uneven, and so when I stepped, I fell into the hole.
Wow, it looks like maximum silk. It looks like.
So now my whole leg is wet, my foot and my butt.
At this site, the team has to try to ignore the smell and concentrate all their scientific faculties on the sound.
The high-pitched tinking sound, tink, 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 is Viridiflavus. Kivuensis is that nyeh, nyeh, nyeh sound. And though it's fairly hard to hear right now, there's a sound which is Hyperoleus nastudis.
Using the frog calls as a guide, they hope to zero in on their catch.
We're not getting them visual, so we're having to team up and triangulate, where we both get two people to just point your flashlight in the direction you think it's coming from. And hopefully, where the two beams cross, we'll find the frog.
Hyperoleus? How many did you guys get?
We got one.
All right.
Well, it's a Viridiflavus, but I don't know what subspecies it is. I think it's a new one for us. It looks different because of the coloration on the sides.
At the end of the road, After they've waded through countless swamps and seen enough frogs to make their heads spin, everyone is ready for a little rest.
Yes, there'll be 200 of us checking in.
Still, the mission is just beginning.
You could always do more, but there's always something you didn't pick up, some photograph you didn't take, some. But overall, it's been a wonderful trip. It's been one of the better trips. I don't think it'll ever be done. We'll complete this project and I'll come back and think of something else.
Tyrone will ship his precious cargo back to the lab, gratified that the objects of his passion have the potential to help humans, and hopeful that we might be wise enough to return the favor.
I was just interested in why the frog changes color. Not that I'm not interested in public health. I mean, boy, that's pretty nice too, but that's not why I started collecting the frog. I simply love it. I mean, as long as I can remember, that's been my thing. So, like I say all the time, it's nice to have a job where you don't have to grow up.
Not long after his return from Africa, Dr. Hayes made public a troubling discovery. A globally used herbicide called atrazine caused abnormalities in his frogs. They were growing extragenitals.
What I do is not just what I do, it's who I am. First and foremost, I'm a scientist. First and foremost, I want to do good science, and I want to know the truth. What we're seeing in the frogs may very well be happening to you and your own children.
Every living thing, no matter how small it is or how obscure it seems, it's important.
Go inside, one-on-one, with the world's premier explorers and fascinating personalities inside Base Camp. Provocative conversations, surprising stories, real wonder around the world, around the clock. The adventure never ends, and it all begins right here inside Base Camp. Next on the National Geographic Channel. Always wonder.